Power can be taken, but not given. It is the process of taking which is empowerment in itself. This is Matt Pearce. Now, welcome back, everyone. Perhaps later in the part two, we might talk a bit about the new Chief Justice has been appointed, if we've got time. But I'm interested, first of all, to have a good discussion with Joe and the other guys about two very shocking tragedies where two young teenage mothers have given birth and the child has died in quite shocking circumstances, actually. Who wants to give the background on that, or should I?
Yeah, it's a tragedy for both young mothers and their families.
Yeah,
actually, because the baby died.
Yeah,
and the woman was arrested.
Yeah, I think they've both been arrested, actually, haven't they?
Charged by the police.
Yeah, but I mean, just to give a bit of background especially for our listeners who wouldn't have been aware of it. In the first case, it happened on April the 1st. A young mother took her newborn child in her handbag, I think, to a short-time hotel in order to meet her boyfriend. Unfortunately, the child died. I think of suffocation, actually. And in the second case, which was just in the past week, it was a case of a 19-year-old. That's right. Yeah.
The young mother threw the baby away. Put the baby into the rubbish bin.
That's right. Yeah. But apparently the child, she gave birth in her boyfriend's toilet of his flat, and whilst the boyfriend was asleep, I think, then at sort of 4 o'clock in the morning, put the baby in a rubbish. I think it was a rubbish bin, wasn't it? And it was found later, a couple of hours later, dead. And I think there's going to be apparently an autopsy to decide whether the child died before or whether it was a stillborn. But I mean, going into the sort of bigger issues to do with Hong Kong society and that issue for young women and so on. Because it keeps happening, actually, doesn't it, in Hong Kong?
Yeah, in the past, it happens a lot of these kinds of cases.
I mean, it is very good evidence to show that there's some major problems in terms of the sex education, not just sex education, but relationships education, and just general sort of well-being for young people, and about how to deal with difficult situations. I mean, Joe, I'm guessing. You've got quite a bit of experience to do with young people in sex education. What can be done? Because I know that different women's groups have been saying that they want better education to the government. I mean, why isn't the government listening, do you think?
Yeah, for example, the Family Planning Association in Hong Kong aim to help this woman, and also Mother's Choice. Some will provide the abortion service, some will not. Yeah, but the main problem is that in our school life, though the education department set a guidance to schools that young people should have 50 hours of sex education in their secondary school life, but in reality, a lot of schoolmasters refuse to practice this guideline because they want to save time for the students to learn more other subjects such as English subject or mathematics. So they cancel the sex education class.
Yeah, I mean, it should be in law that they have to have it, whether they like it or not, shouldn't it?
The problem is that it's not in law. It's only a guidance.
That's exactly right,
It's only a guideline.
Yeah, and in some ways, sex education or well-being education, in some ways it's more important. It certainly would have been for those women and their children than other subjects.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean? It's just about prioritise. The other issue is that whenever obviously those two cases are, a very shocking or extreme case, but for every extreme case, there's always going to be another 1,000 other cases, or thousands of other cases which are it doesn't get to such an extreme end result, but there are thousands of other young women who are having, going through
premarital pregnancy.
Yeah, who are having abortions and all sorts of problems that they're getting into. Because obviously, these particular women, they needed some special education in order to help with some sort of a personal crisis. But in some ways, you want the education to start obviously much, much earlier, so that they won't actually get themselves into that situation.
That is safer sex education.
That's exactly right.
And whether the teenagers can get adequate support from the family.
Yeah.
If the young woman decide to give birth to the baby or do abortion, if she is encouraged to tell her parents, that will be to avoid the tragedy to happen.
Yeah, let's not forget that Hong Kong is not like Saudi Arabia or Iran, where it might be difficult for women to get access to contraceptives. But in Hong Kong, you can get access, but it's just a matter of young women, getting the kind of education to being able to walk through the door and approach different family planning centres. For example, just one small thing, shouldn't schools be, by law, have to visit family planning centres and take young people actually to the location to show them and explain to them this is exactly what happens, and this is the place to come if once you are engaging in starting to become sexually active. Do you see what I mean? But something like that is just not happening. I'm sure.
Because the school teachers and also the schoolmaster always refuse to do that. They usually use a view of moral panic. If I teach students to make them know how to use a condom, and they will involve in sexual life.
Because the headmasters and so on, they're presumably they're afraid of getting criticised, aren't they? Both by the parents and by the media, of saying, if we do this or go to a family planning centre or so on, or if we talk about condoms or in a classroom, we'll get criticised for promoting sex. And it's just a matter. In some ways, they just need more strength to resist that pressure. Actually.
Yeah,
and,
actually in Hong Kong, besides Family Planning Association, many women's association or organization is trying to do sex education and gender education. But the problem is that the government refuses to give them fundings. So they have to do it by themselves.
It seems to me that those women